Ladies and gentlemen, this week on the segment, we have a VIP, Mr. Careflight. We have Mr. Philip Roberts in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, this week on the segment, absolute cracker, we have Mr. Philip Roberts here. He's the General Manager of Careflight. Big week for Careflight. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much.
Mate, if I had your hair, I would be an absolute rock star. Welcome to the program. Mate, tell us about, obviously, General Manager of Careflight. I mean, very, very visible company up here in the Northern Territory. What does Careflight do?
Okay, so Careflight delivers a top-end medical retrieval service on behalf of the Northern Territory Government, which means that we have a fleet of aircraft that go out to remote communities around the top end to service and provide the healthcare that those communities need in tandem with the primary healthcare centres. We also deliver the interstate hospital transport service, and that's one of the reasons we're launching our jet on Monday, is that jet's going to be used for that service. We also run the Palmerston Inter-Hospital Road Transport Service, so people might see us on the road around Darwin, and that transfers patients between Palmerston and Royal Darwin Hospital. So
big role, big shoes to fill, big staff. Tell me about the operation. Just, you know, for most of us, we only see you when there's an accident or on the news, but tell us about the operation, you know, staff, size, planes.
So we've got 220 staff, so they range across, we run an integrated aeromedical operation. So that means we do the engineering, it's all our pilots, we have a clinical team, we have a logistics team, and we have a whole range of other support staff around that. So we run 6 aircraft up here in the Territory, the King Airs, that go out to the remote communities. We run a top-end medical rescue helicopter, and also we now have 4 jets that deliver that interstate hospital jet transfer service.
Speaking of jets, I'm going to set you right up here. Big week for Careflight. Tell us about this week.
So yeah, we launched the Gulfstream G150 on Monday, and we've been talking about that as being a game changer. That's because that's an aircraft that can get anywhere to any of the interstate capitals without refueling. So that means better patient outcomes. So we are able to take this jet. It goes faster than any other aeromedical jet in the country, and it gets our patients to the care they require quicker than ever before. So we're really excited about that.
So obviously, mate, you seem to be enjoying the role.
I love the role.
You enjoy the role. Obviously, clearly you're doing something right as the boss. I think one thing about this program, it's about talking about community, local business, leadership, because a lot of the advice that we get, particularly sometimes from down south where they've got scale, we don't have scale. We all know each other. We bump into each other at the servo. Clearly you're doing something right as a boss over there. What do you believe is, you know, it's hard for Aussies to toot their own horn a little bit. What do you think you're doing right?
Well, look, I'm really lucky that we've got a really great team, and so that, you know, I'm building on the work of many other people that before me. But we've got a highly trained team, a highly skilled team, and so for me the key is you just got to let them go and do the job that they do so well. So for me, I'm just trying there to support them. Yep. You know, I'm strongly believe in that idea of that servant leadership model, yep. And I think that they can do that job so well. And they're highly trained professionals, and so I've just got to let them do their job and assist where I can. Did
COVID change much for your operation? Did you get busier? How did you navigate through that whole experience?
Yeah, COVID was, you know, as everyone knows, was a profound change for businesses. And, you know, obviously none of us had gone through a pandemic before, and so it really meant we had to change things. And so for us, it was around ensuring that communication was in place, and that was that communication with our own staff, but also out to the communities we serve, because it was really important for them to know that they would be safely transported back into Royal Darwin Hospital. And so the other thing was we had to look after our staff. One of the elements was around heat stress. Wearing PPE is really hard up here because of the heat and the humidity. So we just had to come up with different ways to be able to deal with that as well.
So obviously Careflight, I guess it depends on, obviously there's government contracts that help you sort of pay the electricity, and there's I guess there's the commercial side of the operation. But I imagine that the value of Careflight, so for me that sort of lives in Darwin, I don't really, you know, until sort of meeting yourself, haven't come in contact with Careflight. But for rural people, I imagine that's different.
Definitely. So we service those rural communities and the remote communities around the top end of the Northern Territory. And now Careflight's become a verb. I think we try to be part of the landscape. And we try to work closely with those regional hospitals, and more importantly, those remote primary healthcare centres where we know those staff are really working hard to deliver better outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and we want to be part of that support for those communities as they try to improve their health outcomes.
Mate, I reckon your answers are so good. I reckon there's a government role here coming. There might be next Chief Minister. I reckon. What do you think? Politics?
It was a dream once, no more.
Mate, let's start with a couple of questions, all right? We're going to lighten it up here a bit, but let me ask you this. Score out of 10. I want to ask you, what do you give yourself a score out of 10? Are you a good fisherman?
No, 0.
Give yourself something. Well, okay, what about a customer service? I reckon you've got to be a 10.
I'd aspire to be a 10.
Aspire to be a 10. Having a political opinion.
10, 12.
Okay, a gardener at home.
I would rate myself highly. I used to be a gardener back at uni, but I hate it.
I hate it. Okay, chef at home.
Good, but don't do it enough. I'm sure my wife would say.
All right, now you do get to go to a couple of corporate functions, busting moves on the dance floor.
A 5 as I get older.
I like it. Geez, most blokes score themselves as a 0. Football commentator.
I'd be poor at football commentary, but I'd give myself a 10 for cricket commentary.
Okay, good. You must be good at negotiating a deal.
I would hope so. I worked in banking for 16 years.
Okay, worked in banking, God help us all. Hobnobbing and sipping champagne at functions.
10.
Oh! Now, I didn't ask you, normally we prize, so kids, married, bachelor?
Yes, I'm married. My wife and I are living up here at present. My kids came up for COVID, but they're now back in Melbourne. I've got a girl aged 20 and a boy aged 24.
So let me ask you this question. Economy up here, okay, we don't have scale. How does Careflight, what ratio does Careflight sort of how do they pay the bills, turn the electricity on?
Right, so we operate under a number of contracts with the Northern Territory Government, as I said, the top-end medical retrieval service and the jet service, as well as the patient transport service. So we operate those as effectively commercial contracts, we have to. But then the key thing for people to remember is the return we get on that goes back to the community. We are a charity, we are a not-for-profit, so that's not going into my back pocket, it's not going on cardio watches, it's going back to the community. So that's the top-end medical rescue helicopter. It's also the Medisim training that we do, the remote trauma courses, which we think are really important. That's about first responders getting their training to know how to deal with a trauma, how to deal with catastrophic bleeds, how to manage your airways. And the more people we can get doing those courses, that's a real passion of mine, the better for us, because it means we get better handovers when we have to deal with those traumatic events.
So I was going to ask you about this, but what has, as a leader in the community, Philip, what's Careflight taught you? It's kind of, what has it taught you?
It's taught me how amazing our staff is. And so you'll often hear past patients talk about that, and you sort of, and that's really, really great feedback. But when you see it up close, they are so dedicated, so professional, so highly trained and highly skilled that, I would, any one of those people can fly my plane or, treat me as a patient, because I have absolute faith in what they can deliver.
Yeah, amazing. Do you, on a human level, and it is a very professional operation, I've enjoyed the couple of times I've come out there, but obviously the human side of things, I guess in the world of health, it doesn't all go to plan. It's not all a Disneyland story. How do you help your staff through those moments where, I imagine they take their job seriously, but there's also that personal side of what they do. They believe in the product, if that's it. So how do you, as the boss, how do you help them through that?
So the key thing there is training. So we have ongoing training for our clinicians and our pilots, and that's really key to what we do. We have to continually ensure that their skills are at the level we require. There's no doubt that we deal with really difficult situations, and so that's when that sort of debrief, we talk about having a hot debrief and then a cold debrief. It's about our safety management system. It's about ensuring that we learn from those events that have gone wrong, because that's really key to move forward. I think you've got to learn from what has gone wrong. But we call ourselves a family, albeit a dysfunctional family on occasions, but there's a lot of support built into that. There's a lot of highly experienced people that can pick up on when someone's not something has affected them. And so we just really work on that person element, that they get the support that they need.
Speaking of local, is there a local business, local organisation, obviously being the boss of, a high profile business, where does sort of Philip draw strength from? Or is there another business or individuals in the community that help you at all? Or
there's people I admire who I try to model myself on. So, we were talking a bit earlier, Dave Malone from the Masters Builders, Greg Islands from the Chamber of Commerce, Paul Burke from NT Farmers, Drew Wagner from the Minerals Council. All those guys I think are really important because they're really driving the territory forward, and they're constructive. That's for me is really key, that you have to be constructive. We have to work together to get the best outcomes for the Northern Territory. I'm really excited. I'm just joined the Darwin Aviation Skills Centre board, and just that is an industry-run board that is going to try and is working to get training to occur in the Northern Territory for our pilots, for our engineers. And so to work on that board, which has got, the luminaries of the aviation sector, is just a fantastic opportunity.
Mate, I reckon Oprah is going to see this interview. She's going to have you going global, mate. Absolutely. Hey, yeah,
I don't jump on sofas, though. I just want you to know.
Mate, we're going to finish with 10 fast questions. Are you a Luxor lover?
Yes.
You are?
Yachties.
Okay, good. Okay. You said you weren't a fisherman, so I'm not going to ask you this, but do you like fish?
Yeah, I like prawns.
Like prawns. Okay, good. Favourite footy team?
Sydney Swans.
Oh, geez, I wouldn't say that in public. But anyway, God bless you. Favourite restaurant to eat in the NT?
This is an easy one for me. And anyone who knows me will know the answer to this. So it's Meraki now, but it was Manoli's. I was
Manoli's.
Very keen, yes. A big fan of Manoli's.
Manoli's. Okay. I was going to say favourite charity to work with. I know which one
Careflight.
It is. It's Careflight. Speaking of Careflight, they've got a ball. I guess you can buy tickets for it. Come
That's
along.
Right, August 21. Please come along.
August 21.
It's a great theme this year. It's a fantastic event, and it's it's one of the key events of the dry season, I'd suggest.
Good. Favourite plane on your Star? What's the favourite? Obviously, it's going to be the new jet.
Well, I have to say the G150 because I've got to talk it up, but I just got to say one thing. The King Airs are the absolute workhorse of what we do. And so the King Airs that we've got up here and the pilots are doing it day in, day out, going out to remote communities.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this one, I love asking this question. I'm going to put money on. I think I know the answer. Who's the easier to employ, men or women?
I don't look at gender.
I told you politics. I told you.
All I care is how good they do their job.
Hey, there you go.
I'm not going to get drawn into that
one. And if you look back, mate, obviously, sort of 2 years in the job, is there a moment that stands out that Philip's, just sort of pushes himself back from the chair and go, I'm pretty proud of that?
On the first day when COVID was getting really serious, and to be in that room and for us to be communicating the message about what we're going to have to do and just see people there ready to act, that was a really profound day, I think. Yeah.
Amazing, mate. Listen, all the very best. The jet looks like it is from a non-novice, non-industry. What a game changer. Congratulations on the operation. Great staff, mate. And I look forward to seeing on the dance floor at a couple of those corporate functions, busting the move. I'm expecting 50%. All the best.